so that, everyone's time is kind of being respected. So
Yeah.
I'm just muting everyone, and it would be quick, nice if people can just kind of really share about themselves in the chat boxes. Any messages and all, we can have in the chat coming.
Okay.
Yeah, and also Rashna, if you can just mute everyone, that would be really helpful too. So welcome to the session today that is about presentations that sell. I know it's a very, very attractive topic, and I think so we make presentations so often. And I wonder, like, how many times we end up with not so happy results, like the way we are expecting. So I thought, let's see, what is exactly that we can talk about in terms of making presentations that are more effective. So just before I start, maybe, if I can ask some of the other participants to just quickly type in the chat box as where are they coming from and what are they exactly looking from the presentation. That would be helping me to ensure that, actually I'm covering everything that I'm going to be doing. I already have received the answers through the registration, so that's really helpful. So we have considered that too. So I'm just looking at more chat. Yes, I think so. Rishi, you were there in the last presentation also. So welcome. If okay, yeah, thank you. Uh, so even if we are actually we are a designer or a professional or maybe even working as a entrepreneur also, we all end up making presentations, and this is something that is very inherent to our business, that without good presentations we have got the best of the product on the table. Without the right presentation, we can't really convert into business, and if we are not converting that into business, then it makes it very, very difficult for us to monetize for whatever we are actually doing. So let's see what I'm going to be covering today in today's this thing. How to make presentations normally. So normally, how are we making the presentations? What are the challenges that you face while doing the presentations? And 5 steps to making presentations that sell. These are the 3 things that we are going to be covering in today's presentation. Uh, Moving on, exactly, uh, and people who are joining in for the first time, for them, I'm just going to repeat this thing that I have been in the industry for almost 25 years now. And while working with so many exporters, brands, and retailers, presentations were like the backbone of all the businesses that we were going for. The reason why we actually end up doing what we are doing today is that we have seen so many creative people and such great ideas getting wasted only because we are not able to position and pitch our businesses properly. Most of the best of the product and the best of the talent has been lost only because it was only product based, or it was only design based. It was not making a lot of business sense. Or how do you actually convert that into a business is something which I really saw a lot of people struggling. So that's where what made me thought that it's important, and that was my role when I was working with designers, manufacturers, and brands, to actually take that capability and market to the international market. Today, I feel we don't have to necessarily have agents and traders to do this thing, because all the business is really transparent. We know exactly what's happening in any part of the world, what's selling, what's not selling. So the aim, what we want to do is that we want to empower manufacturers, designers, brands to actually go and market themselves and build systems that make their businesses profitable. Because marketing strategically and positioning yourself helps you in getting the right customers on the table, and making systems and creating the right team and a supplier and a product strategy helps you in making it profitable. Because a lot of times we have seen factories getting completely wiped off, or manufacturers getting completely wiped off, just because there was too much of business to handle and they were not equipped to handle it. So we have both the problems. We have the problem of having no business, And we have the problem of what happens if there's a lot of business too. Some of the people actually we have worked with have achieved this. And it's really, I'm so glad in the last 1 year that I have been working on this side. We have got some great achievements when my mentees and companies whom I have worked with, they have actually gone and made a business without actually having a presentation. And they have been able to choose their partners, like the collaborators. Like if you have to choose a buyer or you have to choose a supplier, when you choose them wisely, when you know that this is going to be a long-term relationship, you are not going to reinvent the wheel constantly and reinvest into marketing and presenting yourself constantly. So these are some of the achievements which brands have achieved while working with us. For some of the manufacturers that we have worked with, we have been able to decrease their product development cost by almost 50%. That means they now know that they don't need to produce so much of product, because they are actually communicating already without even presenting it to them. They have increased their sales conversion through presentation, and that's what exactly we are going to be sharing in today's presentation. And so they are not like, a buyer or a supplier. It's like more of a relationship, because, what are we? We are all pillars in this entire business. People who are working in the business, who are supplying, who are manufacturing, who are selling outside. We are all pillars of the supply chain. If we don't work together, like I could have never been successful in 20 years when I was working, if I didn't have a very good, people think that, if you have buyers, you are successful. But trust me, I can tell you, I only had buyers all throughout these 20 years, and they kind of stuck with me because I had very good suppliers along with me. I had suppliers whom I could actually, close my eyes and say, okay, fine, I know I'm trusting in them and they are going to help me deliver. Because end of the day, I and a few people in my team cannot actually produce millions of pieces and deliver it to the retailers. It's only when I've chosen them correctly. And this is exactly, what we need to think when we are looking at adding our team. Like, when I talk about team, it's your supplier, it's your team, your own team, which is working inside the system. And the third is, how do you go and choose the buyer? What are the elements that you have to really look at when choosing a buyer? When do you have to say no, and when you have to tell them, no, this is right, we want to actually go ahead? Because very often as manufacturers, we come across as people who are needy for business. And that is where, we don't feel the power of exactly what we are delivering. So the whole effort of FBC is to empower each and every supply chain, so that we all work as a collaborative team. Moving on to today's topic, what factors do you, so the first thing is that, what are the factors that you actually think about while making presentations? If you can quickly type in the chat box, then we can have some good understanding of what all you are already considering while making a presentation. I'm just waiting for a few this thing, because so that we can look at it, because I'm sure all of you would definitely be making presentations. And welcome, Ankit. Are you joining for the first time this presentation that we did?
Yes, I'm joining for the first time.
All right, thank you.
Yes, nice to meet you.
Yeah. So, hi, Rishi. Need of the customer. Absolutely right. We have to look at the need of the customer. I'm just going to mute here. Anyone else is typing in as well? In fact, Rishi, that's really very important that, we understand what is the need for them. Okay, so we'll just move on. Problems and solving a concern. Yeah, absolutely right. So normally, what we think about when we are making a presentation, that it has to be relevant for the timeline that we are making a presentation. So it's important that we talk about what are the trending things which are there currently happening. Just showcasing a great product which is not in trend or which is not in sync with what's happening around may not resonate with the buyer, because they would say, okay, fine, it is great, but how do I use it? So this is what we actually do at this point of time, showcasing trends to them. The second is we cover showcasing our capabilities. We want to show what all can we do, so that the buyer understands that, what is it that we are capable of producing. This is the second thing that we actually often talk about. One second. Price points. Price points are extremely, extremely important. And whenever you are making presentations, you definitely keep in mind what are the price points. So even if you are making a presentation, you show your cheapest price point or the entry price point to the maximum price point, so that you are having an overview of the price points that your factory is actually capable of doing. Now, what happens with these three things that we are doing? We are showcasing the trends, we are showcasing capabilities, and we are doing showcasing products across price points. We end up making too much product. And I understand that it is very, very important that we have to do all of this. But what is happening is that we are showing something which is not really making the most of the time of the buying team or the buyer or the retailer or the brand whom we are presenting to. And this is understandable. But the most precious thing today is actually time. If you look at it, that you will be blocking an hour to come and meet me to tell me about yourself, I'm like, I'm going to think 10 times that, whether I should give you an appointment also or not. Why? Because I know I want to know about you, because I want to take a supplier on board. But the problem which I'm also facing at the same point of time is that I'm not able to think about how will I do the work of my buying, which I'm supposed to be doing, because I am appointed as a buyer. I'm a brand. So I have to buy. That's my role. Understanding your capabilities is not as much as important. I want someone who already knows what I need and puts it on my table. So while we consider all these three things, they are not very relevant for the buyer all the time. And we have to think about how can we eliminate this, or, we can do it as if it's already, the credibility is already built. That means even before we meet for a presentation, we have to think about that they already are aware about this. This is the only way you can be thinking about being very effective with your time and presentation. The challenges which happens because of this is that the presentation goes too long. It is too detailed. That means there's a lot of information which is there for the buyer to understand and process. See, this is extremely important, because we have to understand we are all human beings. And most of the people who are working in this industry are creative people. Creative people, if you know, they need more time to process information. They are not very quick of jumping from one thing, what they're doing, to another thing, to another thing. Now, they don't really understand very easily that, so while they are trying to understand what you are presenting to them, they can't focus on what they are going to be buying. Whereas what is your end result? You want is that, what is going to convert for me in the business or through this presentation. That is what you are thinking. The third thing, which is very difficult for them, is that there's no clear flow. You are showing capabilities, you are doing trends, and you are showcasing things based on the price points. It's not like there's a flow which is going on. The moment you make a presentation which flows effortlessly and which keeps on answering your questions, what happens is that I become very comfortable I know that I can easily work with you. Whereas, if my mind has to juggle from, okay, fine, this is all around the trend, this is all around the capabilities which they can do, and this is all around the price points, I understand. But now I'm also asking, and this is, I can tell you, I'm just telling you, I'm using the psychology bit because it's very important when you make presentation that you are thinking about the person's psychology, how they are processing. They can't integrate the three together and also look at what they are requiring. This is too much of information we are asking them to process in a very small amount of time. And that is the reason we don't get a response from the buyer. This is the reason we do not hear back quickly from the buyers. And we have no clarity because they don't have that, they have seen the product. That means after doing all of this, now the next step will be actually meeting with you to see if there is something that they want you to produce for them. What have we done in the process? We have given our best presentation. We have actually made a huge amount of samples for a single presentation, and we haven't made the dent that we actually had to make in the meeting. This is the main reasons why buyers don't want to meet suppliers often, because they know that they are actually going to be just scanning through the product. If this all happens okay, then only I'm going to be actually thinking about, out of these 100 or 5 6 people they are meeting on a particular day, or now online they are seeing it, then they think, okay, fine, who is the one I'm going to be choosing? If we have this kind of response, do you think our presentations are going to be really converting? Or just tell me, have you people really faced a situation like this when you have made presentations? I just want to keep a pause, and I just want to understand if this is resonating with the people who have actually made presentations so far. Yes, sir. Thank you, Rishi. Yeah. So, Rishi, what you would have done in a situation when something like this has happened? What has happened for you?
So for me, Tanmaya, what happens is normally I go for the presentations for every season.
Yeah.
So for every 6 months, I go for the presentation, and then there are so many suppliers, there are so many manufacturers who wants to showcase the best of the products that they are making.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But normally what happens when I give them a brief that this is the kind of product that I am looking for, and this is the direction in which you should show me the products. So those suppliers who have not made the products in that direction, they want to push something else which they have. So normally what happens if I have got say 15 to 20 suppliers and I have to select things from them, I waste a lot of time before I can actually choose the suppliers who have the right products for me.
Thank you, Rishi, for saying this thing, because I know, because while working with the buyers, I know this is their biggest challenge. It's not that they don't want to meet; they just block those
Right.
2 days only for scanning the product and okay, saying okay, fine, we have. And as a supplier,
Yeah,
I'm putting all my energy in creating so much of product, which kind of overwhelms the buyers.
very true.
So
Yeah,
this is, I mean, I'm really thankful for at least sharing this thing, because this is what we want to eliminate. This is the approach that we want to eliminate and say, there has to be a better approach of making presentations, because we are all, at least for the next few years, I can tell you, till the time new systems, we are transitioning in technology, we're transitioning in the way we are working. And because of this transitioning, everyone was overworked right now. That means everyone has to learn also. So a learning part has actually increased into every person's life now. They have to learn technology. They have to learn how to work in a different manner. So they are trying to work in a completely different, out of their comfort zone right now. So now, if you were actually able to even like say meet 15 to 20 suppliers in a day, or even 10 suppliers in a day, you will should be happy that if you have been able to actually go through a proper meeting in 2 3 days also. Why? Because just seeing the presentation on the PPTs, or the 3D presentations they're talking about, is actually a lot of waste of time, because there are a lot of technology problems are there. People don't know how to present properly there. The presentation is not designed in the most effective manner. That means we have to have a better way where we actually cutting down this entire timeline. So what I would suggest is, what I'm going to share with the team today is here 5 steps which are there to make the presentations itself. That firstly, it is, who is this for? So whenever manufacturers or factories who get into manufacturing setup, they need to always think about that, forget my capabilities. I'm not going to be first thing talking about it, because the buyer is meeting with me because she has some requirements. If I don't put something on the table which is going to be for her, it's just good information. Like, we scan through so much of information today. When we look at Google, they just scan through the product. If we don't want them that they should be scanning through the presentation, then it is important that the presentations are designed for the buyers. And it's not even for the buyer that you are going. It is for the end customer of that buyer. Until and unless you have really researched your buyer properly, and you know yourself that what kind of target buyers you should be working with, you cannot really look at creating a product line or a product range which would sink in for that. That means you have to work from what is actually going to be best to be selling into the stores. You should never think about making a presentation to showcase your capability, trends, everything. This should be anyways an integration into what you're presenting. These 3 things have to be already integrated and communicated effectively. So there are 2 things that we are talking about here. The challenge which some of the manufacturers might have is that, how do that means I can't have a generic range. This is the first challenge which most of the manufacturers I've heard with, that, can't we have a generic range? That means, I will not be having seasonal presentations. You will actually be having seasonal presentations. The only difference is that if you are focusing on a handful of buyers, you know what are your capabilities and what are your strengths as a manufacturer, then you will not focus onto a huge target audience. You will have a very targeted set of buyers that you want to talk about. Suppose if I'm a manufacturer and I'm a women's wear manufacturer, I can actually make so many things under the sun. And now making so many things under the sun is exactly what is confusing the buyer who's actually looking at the presentation. However, if I'm a women's wear manufacturer who only works for the customer who can buy between 700 rupees to 1400 rupees, or can buy between 10 to 20, who has got the retail buying power between 10 to 20 sterling or dollar, and who is looking for great quality product for their maybe all day wear, or maybe evening wear, or it is talking about, maybe it's just the essentials that I'm talking about. Maybe I just don't want to even focus on the outerwear. What happens is that I now have actually niched myself, that this is the retail price points that I serve. Now, manufacturers say that, we have manufacturing capabilities. Why can't I just make for anyone? Because actually I can make for someone who wants even a $50 retail price point. I'm not saying that you cannot do that. Problem is that you are investing far too much in creating a cross range of presentations and confusing the buyer and not really turning around. If your core is actually a $25 to a $50 retail price point, focus on that, so that those are the sort of buyers which are actually coming to you. When you put a product on your website or a social media, which is going to be around $10, and you are putting something around $50, I don't know as a buyer where you are going to be overcharging or under delivering. Overcharging for a buyer who is not at that price point, and under delivering for a buyer who is maybe a premium buyer, because they have different requirements and your factory may not be set up just to deliver. So it's very important as a manufacturer that you are seeing how are you positioning yourself, how are you branding yourself. If as a manufacturer you are not branding, your buyers will never be able to find you easily. It's going to be really difficult for manufacturers to go ahead and look for buyers by talking so much. And this is where, you know, a lot of people are losing money. This is where a lot of manufacturers are going on, and you know, they are actually losing out from the profits they have made earlier. I am not surprised. I won't be surprised if in a year's time we will not be able to kind of make the luxurious presentations that we have been making so far. So it's extremely important that you have to think about the end customer price point, the value that you give for that price point, and the volume that you can actually deliver for that price point. This makes the buyer comfortable to know that, okay, fine. That means you are someone I can talk to and understand this price point where you are coming from. Understand, well, you have systems which can deliver in this given period of time. The moment you talk about that, you know, I can be giving you products from an 8 to a 12 sterling or a 25 to a 35 sterling retail price point, she already has, because buyers have their range plan very well defined. This is the price point. Now, if they already have suppliers in that one, then probably they will be honestly able to tell you in the first 10 minutes of the meeting that, hey, you know, Rishi or, you know, Anil, I don't think so. You know, we already have the number of suppliers. And that's what takes me to the next point, is that what is your value proposition? End of the day, you might be doing a great product, and so is another manufacturer. And so there are so many 10 more manufacturers who are going to be coming up in the next few months. You have to understand that if I don't compete on my value proposition, I am not building long-term relationship as a buyer and a supplier. Why do you think, when look at the cars which are being sold today, there are so many cars at a given price point. Let's look at Jeep is there, then you have got Hexa is there, then you have got Innova is there, Krista is there. There are between 20 lakhs to 30 lakhs, there are so many cars. But most of the people have their own target customer who actually, so maybe Toyota is delivering performance. Maybe Hyundai is delivering features. So all the customers who are focused on the number of features that they're talking about, they are going to be working with them. Jeep is promising an off-roading experience, a four-wheel drive off-roading experience, a sturdy experience. So people who have the values or who believe more in that kind of feeling would be Jeep customers. Similarly, as a manufacturer, you have to talk about, how are you integrating your value proposition while you are going to be working with them? Is it that, you know, you are talking about that systems are built into your manufacturing setup because you are such a systematic person, because you have created systems like that?
Rishi has a question.
Yeah, is value, no, Rishi, it's value proposition. So value proposition comes from the values and the personality of the manufacturer. So it comes from there, and it is, of course, it is emotion, and this is where this is what actually builds the connection with the customer. So value proposition is something which we actually, when we do an assessment and we work on understanding what is going to be your manufacturing archetype, we actually work there as what is the value proposition which you are going to be putting on table. And this value proposition, when this is clear, like I'll just give you one example. I know from a fact that, when I'm going for a meeting with a particular factory as a buyer, I would know if my values are actually in sync with that manufacturer. Most of the time, the buyers don't know that. Why do they pick one supplier over and on top of the other supplier? They have not delved so deeply. So we think that, oh, it was just the price point, or maybe it was just a delivery that has actually given them. No. Suppose if I know that as a supplier, as a person, you are going to, as a person, for me, it's very important that once I have given the business, I'm at peace. And you are a supplier who knows that once they have taken the business, that it's completely their responsibility to deliver on time at the right price and everything, then our values have matched. But the problem is that most of the time, the buyers don't know how to ask for it, and the suppliers don't know how to tell this thing. So if you are a manufacturer and you have defined your value proposition, the moment you actually, I look at the first proposition, that the first presentation that you do, not even in person, but just like, product presentation on an email or just an email introduction, I know that we have similar thoughts. I know that, there is some resonance and I can be talking to you, or I would like to have a conversation with you, because it is not impossible to produce goods. It is impossible to work when your values don't match. So it is very important to understand what is your value proposition so that you can lead with that. And for that, you don't even need to have a meeting. The value proposition can just be on your social media handles. It can be just be on your website, and it has to be integrated. It's not like, I'm writing, this is my value proposition. No, it's never. It's integrated into your communication, so that when people who are going to be viewing this, they know, well, you resonate with performance, you resonate with quality, you resonate with maybe delivering on time, you resonate with giving seamless services to your client. So these are very important things that we work when we are working to understand. Yes, Rishi, value proposition. So like I told you, like when we are talking about Jeep as a product, all the customers who actually are explorers, and Rishi, it's going to be a little deeper conversation here. Why? Because there are different personalities. You can maybe Google and see, there are different personalities and they have different ways of looking at product. For a Jeep, the people who are going to be their customers, they will be more of the explorer kind. They for maybe a Maruti, and everyone, everyday man is the person who is actually the customer. So we do this thing when we are actually defining the brand or the manufacturer. In both the cases, we actually help you do, because end of the day, why we do this thing, so that you don't spend too much in marketing. If you don't do this thing, that means you are going to be marketing to anyone and everyone. And today, social media marketing is extremely expensive only because we are marketing to everyone and anyone. So if you actually look at personality types, you will see there are 16 personality types by MBTI as well. And 16 personality types, that means they have got different buying patterns, different things that they resonate with. And this is where you have to really understand who is your end customer going to be. And value proposition does not happen from an end customer. What happens is that the way you are setting up yourself as a manufacturer or a brand, that is the kind of customer you're going to be attracting to yourself. I hope I'm able to explain you what you were asking for, but it is a far more detailed this thing, and there are a lot of, at least 3 sessions we just do on working on this altogether only. Then why I'm making this presentation? Because the third thing is that, you have to understand that most of the time, if we are just showcasing capability or we are just showcasing trends, actually, I'm going to be wasting the time. Until unless until unless the buyer has asked that, come and showcase your trends. To be very honest, as a manufacturer, even before you come to meet the buyer, they should actually be seeing you on your social media handles and your website that you are in sync with the trends. The moment a buyer tells you that, I want you to come for a presentation, which is going to be based on to see if you're actually in sync with the trends, that means they are in two minds right now. And that is the amount of time I'm actually wasting of the buyer. And trust me, either we gain business by actually saving the time of the buyer, or we lose the business by wasting the time of the buyer. Because I'm not putting buyer on a pedestal, but as a buyer, there are too many things that they are responsible for. And if they cannot spend time doing all of that, then it is going to be very difficult for them to give you the business that you want as a supplier. So if you want to make more business or you want to have more business from your buyers, you have to ensure that you are saving their time. You are making life easier for them to choose why they are choosing you. Because the moment that confidence, I have got suppliers I have worked with making jersey to denim to, maybe all the woven product too, because the trust has been there, because I know that they are going to be investing into what we are talking to them about. So this is how, the businesses have grown over the period of time. So don't ever try and make a present. You can have said, okay, fine, this is all my trends, but this is all my trends for your end customer. Makes the life of the buyer far more easier comparing to say, oh, this is all the trends, this is all the fancy pieces which look very nice, but you cannot buy that. We have to rework. Now, who has got the time to rework? That's the question you have to be asking. Are you making a presentation which is something that they can just pick off and say, okay, fine, just tell me the price, and what's the timeline that you can do it? Because that is your strength. So having this clarity is extremely, extremely important. What product categories do you focus on? I can make blouses, I can make tops, I can make pants, I can make scarves, I don't know what all I can make as a manufacturer. But if I say, I can just make tees of this particular quality, this GSM, this price point for your end customer, this option, this 100, I'm telling you, they'll love you for that. Because now they can just pick up and look at their range plan and say, okay, fine, I have got 5 options of teas, I can tell you, and they are going to be selling at, say, maybe 1,000 rupees for a retail price point, or maybe 12 pounds for a retail price, and I need the delivery. Can you do it for me or not? It takes a lot of work at the back for you to go and say this thing. And it takes much more courage to say, I don't do so many other things which probably I could have done. The reason is that when you are just working on one product category, or maximum 1 to 5 product categories, then I know as a buyer that you are efficient. I know as a buyer that you have systems in place. I don't have to go into a factory and check. I don't have to send my inspection guy to go and check whether you can deliver that quality that you're talking about or not, because end of the entire setup is just focused on 5 things. And when you are only focusing on 5 instead of 50, I know you are going to be delivering quality. Because the thinner we spread ourselves, the harder we make for a buyer to believe us. This is how a 1, 2, or 4 product factories also actually make a lot of money across the globe. This is how Nike, while just doing 15 to 25 options in clothing, can actually be doing so well as well. You don't have to have a huge product category to impress and get the business. Ki ye nahi to, ye nahi to, ye nahi to, ye. No. That means your systems are not in place. That means your factory is making errors, and you cannot be that at that price point which I am going to be looking for, because you have far too many efficiencies down the line. As a buyer, I already know that. You don't have to justify, or you do. That is the reason you are expensive. That's the reason you can't do my price points. So here I'm just talking to you all that goes in the buyer's mind, which they never ever talk to you about, because it's difficult for them to spend time explaining you all of this. I think so. Okay, so one thing which we have, yes. So one of the things which we have really missed out here is, out of the slide, what is a buyer sourcing strategy? This is extremely important for you to know before you are making your presentation. Why? Because suppose a retailer is having thousands of product across women's wear, or maybe bags or shoes or accessories or anything, whatever they are buying. But they do not have that, they can buy it from anywhere and everyone. Or they actually know that what are the countries that they're going to be actually buying, or what are the regions they're going to be sourcing for the different dynamics. So you have to always think about and research the buyer before you go even think about making the product plan. Because if the product plan is, if the buyer sourcing strategy is that all my jackets are coming only out of China, showing something on around jackets is not going to be making any difference to them.
Ma'am, Ankit has a question.
Sorry, Tanmay, I don't mean to intervene. Please carry on. I don't have a question. I was just wondering if you could share a presentation with us that you prepared as a pitch to a brand. So, we can just, because, while I appreciate your inputs, Tanmay, all this is very generic, value proposition and all this. I want to see how you're bringing it across in a presentation actually.
So, good question, Ankit, and you're asking. So, we don't. So there's. I can talk about it just after the presentation.
Sure.
Exactly how it happens. We don't present with this like this, and I'll just cover that. Yeah, because
I just think a real life, example of a presentation of what's gone into it would just, be more effective for me to understand.
No,
I
can
keep it for the end of the presentation. No worries. Please carry on.
Yeah, another, maybe I think only 1 or 2 slides are there. That's it. So
no worries.
Yeah, good. So yes, so understanding what is their sourcing strategy of the buyer, based on what product they are taking from what region, is extremely important. So that I'm not presenting something which they might just not be sourcing out of us because of different duty benefits, different timeline benefits in terms of delivering, how we are going to be delivering, maybe in India, maybe overseas. It is important that we are thinking about what is the caps that they have, like in terms of product presentation, that how much can they actually source from a region. So some of the retailers would have like a 36% cap on sourcing out of China. Some of them would have just 5 to 10%. And from India perspective, I'll be very honest, the sourcing cap has been the least, only because of the risk factor that Indian suppliers have. The most of the buyers globally have put India as a red zone only because they know that Indian suppliers can actually make and produce anything from basics to outerwear, the most complicated outerwear also. However, they are not the most price competitive. They are not the most properly organized. So this is what you have to be really thinking about when you're going for presentations with sourcing strategy, or even having a conversation why you should be having a different sourcing, why you should be even offering a new product category to them. So these are the 5 things that we are talking about. Some more things which we want to is that we have to be listening very, very carefully when we are talking. So here, the difference in listening and hearing is that, I've asked you for product presentation, but are you thinking about from the buyer's perspective that, is it in terms of the price points or not? Are you actually asking the right questions? Are you actually talking to them, thinking about how do they want to deliver? What is the plan that they're actually going to be making when they're going to be selling? So if you're not actually thinking what is their sale time, if we are not thinking that when they are going to be actually putting, maybe my presentation is just not, it might be very good product, but maybe not right for them for the timeline. They can't buy at this point of time, or maybe I can deliver, but that's too late or too early for them to have it. So listening very carefully and asking on and focusing on asking the right questions is extremely important, because end of the day, you are going to be ensuring that you have to make presentations and subsequently back it with product that is going to be finally offered as a converted business. If you have not taken these things in sync, then we don't get conversions on presentations. So this is the program that we talk about, how do we help you making presentations that sell. In understanding the sourcing strategy, we actually help you understand how do you work on getting the sourcing strategy for a buyer, conducting market research, developing product strategy for your target audience. Now coming back, and it's going to be helpful if I'm going to be talking about it right now. So coming back to Ankit's question that, how do we do this thing? So firstly, Ankit, the thing what we focus on is that we do not want to start with all of this in a presentation altogether. We have to already establish and position ourselves even before I go for a presentation. For me, when I have ensured that our manufacturer is strategically positioned, as a buyer, I know these are your price points, these are your product categories, and I already know, while I have not even met you physically or even in an online conversation, that what are the trends that you are following, because this is actually showcased through your social media and website that's there. And most of the time, if you actually I've seen manufacturers started putting out product and they say, can we really start putting out our product presentations on social media? I'm not saying that at all. And that is what the difference is. When we have positioned ourselves, that means we know that who are the buyers that we will be talking and working to them all about. We know what are the price points going to be there, and this should be communicated in the different channels that we are actually doing. So our presentations is nothing more than actually meeting them and talking to them about what we will be offering to them for their end customer. So so our presentations, if you actually ask me, Ankit, to help you answer this quickly,
Yes.
will be all about, I already know that this is a season that they are going to be selling for. So
Right.
it will start for that selling period will be the first thing which will be actually talking about. If I'm just making an online product presentation, I'm talking about for the price point, the options that you have actually thought, because you're not thinking from a supplier's point of view, you're thinking from the buyer's range plan point of view. Correct. And you also have integrated the sourcing strategy. So your presentation is nothing but a conversation of what, if I'm offering you at this product at this price and this timeline, when can we book? That's it. In that particular 1 hour or 2 hours meeting, you can't have that starting ki मैं अभी relationship build करूं, इसी में credibility भी build करूं, इसमें अपना showcase भी करूं. It's too much. And these are working meetings. These are where, you know, they can actually, they have seen it on the presentation, and then they are sitting on the on a Zoom call, and we're just kind of negotiating and finalizing, okay, whatever we are doing or not doing. And if we go with a product at that level or presentation with that level, then I know, because you have already showcased, you have already crossed all the barriers which you are going to be doing while making presentation. Because when I am just doing one thing, end of the day, what is my end goal of booking the business? So why in that one meeting of booking the business, or, you know, talking about it, or making into 4-5 things, why do I just not position myself in the marketplace to the kind of target audience and just communicate to them in this manner, so that they know that they can trust me? They know that they don't have to have people coming into my factory and checking if I'm delivering or not. And today it's the hardest for people to go and check if your factory is actually going to be making all of this or not. And this is the biggest doubt. And that is the reason, wherever the buyers have those kind of relationships, those factories are actually doing really well today, even despite the pandemic. Because all these people, where they have actually, suppose if they had 10 suppliers and they had 3 to 4 top suppliers, they are just putting the business of all those other 5-6 and putting there, because they know at least we have an understanding. At least I know I can trust. I don't have to send my people to check. I know that these are your pluses and minuses, and I'm taking a risk on that, and I'm adding a product category into you. I want to add a product category rather than you chasing me for adding a product category with me. So this is how it gets integrated even before you are thinking of meeting them.
Right.
That makes sense for a buyer, because honestly, Rishi, I mean, glad that, you know, you are as a buyer here. You can actually, you've well said it right at the beginning, that, you know, it's very difficult when you're making presentations. I mean, when people are making presentations to you, and you know, as a buyer, think about it, how many suppliers approach them like this. What a waste of time it is for them. Capability दिक्का मैं क्या कर लूंगी? I mean, I'll just be honest. I know I can understand more about it, but the thing is that why can't I just understand it while seeing it into a system? When you go to a Nike or Adidas, there is a certain area that pulls you more towards a Nike rather than to an Adidas, or Adidas to a Nike. It's just the way you are as a customer. Similarly, every brand and the brands and retailers have the way they are hiring their buyers. So some of the buyers would be very, very, very particular on performance based on the brand's values and vision that they have. And if you are a person, if you are a manufacturer who is performance driven, no one says that they have a bad quality. But have we defined what is quality to a performance driven buyer versus just a standard quality? We haven't.
But you can't do that, Tanmaya. It's very difficult for you to bring that on a presentation. Everybody talks about quality, you write fancy stuff, you know. No one's buying it. And as you mentioned, capabilities also, I see, you know, a lot of times when I go to trade shows, other suppliers having presentations being played in their booth. And I probably know their background, but if their capacities, for example, 100,000 pieces, that we have design studios in Milan, in Paris, you know. So
see, that is the reason I said, this is
what
the buyers,
they don't want to see all this. Yeah.
No, but this is what the buyers already know about it, and that is the reason they don't trust. But suppose,
I know they don't trust. Yeah.
But suppose if you are actually, see, the thing is that what is happening? Why do you think online is still working and offline is still struggling? Online is still working right now simply because if you have managed your social media very well, and you know, see, when you are talking to me offline or you know, on an online platform, you are as good as understanding, okay, fine, Tanmaya, these are the values that she has got, this is what she believes into and all of this. So similarly, if you are constantly showcasing that there's consistency in what you're actually putting out, there is far more chances for me to know that, well, you know, and when I meet you, I know that that whole perception which I've built through your social media is in sync. Or nahi hai, to 5 minutes mein I'm out of the meeting, you are out of the meeting. I have not wasted your time. You have not wasted my time. Simple. So it is actually, and you know, it takes effort to build it. But the manufacturers who are putting their effort, because still we are in the process of transitioning to a completely online world of working. And when it is going to happen like that, we won't even have so many like offices where we'll be going and meeting the buyer, the designer, and everyone together. It will be like more if you are present socially, and when I meet you in person on a virtual meeting or something like that, and I'm in sync with what you are actually being shown, I would want to go and have a further conversation. And this is another reason, Ankit, future, I'm actually seeing that the people who are able to integrate this into their business will be the ones who are going to be having a huge amount of business coming through, versus, because it's not easy to be done. And you cannot do it if it's not in your DNA, to be very honest. You can hire a marketing agency to kind of do something for you, but if you are not clear, that marketing agency is not going to be able to build what you really want to showcase. Simple. So you have to first build yourself to showcase it on platforms. You can't just do it without that. And this is a long-term strategy I'm talking about, of attracting buyers without actually going and even meeting them, knowing people without even going and talking to them. And this is the future of how work and businesses are going to be working. And this is where, I'm requesting, at least putting this thing that, forget your talk. We're talking right now about manufacturers, but tomorrow employees are going to be more of like, this kind of employee should be actually hired for a value retailer, hired someone who makes very, very high performance, because every employee, every person has their own way of working. That's the reason there's huge amount of inefficiency when we look at the teams. Why don't we have high performing teams? That's the way. This is all about, how technology is going to integrate all of these things while we are going to be working in the future. And this is, our industry has been the most left out industry. If you see, how disruption has been there for the last some 7-8 years at a very fast pace. And we have really not gone and invested it into what has been happening. And we know what we are doing right now, or what's happening with us. So I don't know, I'm not sure if you have answered your question or not, but this is exactly, sorry. Maybe a note.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Am I audible to you?
Not really, not very. If you can drop
I'm sorry,
chat.
is this better now?
Yeah, it's much better
Is this better now?
Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah, so you have answered my questions then, man. So I would still like to see a presentation you made for a buyer, but I think that's not the way you function, so it's okay.
Yeah, because
I would be happy to share my presentation with you, what I send to my buyers generally as a introductory this. And I just sharing, with everyone. I stopped using PPTs because they're too passe, and no one likes to see PPTs anymore. I just use videos now. A 2-line introduction about myself, my company. I think first I tell them about brands I work for, awards I've won to get their attention. Once I've got their attention on slide number 2, then I just do a virtual factory tour where they can see the goods being made, so that establishes some kind of credibility. Then I just come to my product range, and then I just request for a meeting. So generally that's what, I want to communicate in my first email to these people. And after that, I think buyers just want to see samples. They want to discuss prices, and
So Ankit, you are doing absolutely right. I'll tell you the only difference what I am doing, what I'm talking about.
Yes.
You are active. So I am talking about attracting the buyers by all of, so people.
Correct.
So, you are on the push. I am talking about the pull mechanism.
Correct.
I am like, so whatever you have done in this little video, if this is out on social media consistently,
right,
you will say, you can't imagine how much of time you're going to be saving and how much focus you are going to be with the kind of buyers that you want to work with. In fact,
correct,
you would be having people, and this is, end of the day, a manufacturer is actually, so always like, we say, is the buyer important or the manufacturer? I said, buyer is very important because they give the business, we get the money from there. No doubt. But if the manufacturer can't make what they're talking about, what are we going to sell?
No, a good supplier is the backbone of a business. You need a good supplier as well.
Exactly.
What
So,
will a store sell if they don't have good products in the store?
and them going and chasing business is what I'm against. I'm
Correct.
not against, but that's not my you know.
Tanmay, actually, in my case, I'm sorry. I mean, for people who do garments, it's very different. For in my case, for leather goods, no,
Yeah.
there are a handful of buyers, and we already have a good we have good amount of information about these buyers. So for us, it's always going to be more of
Agree.
a push strategy than a pull strategy, because we know we have to approach these, we have to break through these maybe 7 or 8 companies in a particular region. And if we can do that, we are sorted. We are not really chasing the small buyers there because they can't fulfill our MOQs. So that's why in my case, it's very different. I mean,
You are
I do a
right.
bit of social media as well, and
Yeah.
it's just to keep the existing and the new ones a bit interested, and keep myself busy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I get
So
what
our
you're.
industry is very small. Yeah, our market is very small for leather goods, and it's shrinking now by the day.
Yeah, but the thing is that what I look at is that a lot of big retailers and big people,
Mhm.
if they are going to be disintegrating, which is going to be a result of the way. See, because wherever in any system, any business, wherever inefficiencies have been built up in this thing, those brands, retailers are going to be breaking down, and there are going to be new players coming into. And if you ask
Right.
me honestly, most of our apparel manufacturers who have been hard hit is that because of a lot of apparel retailers have closed down suddenly, or they have got no business, or they have shrunken
Mhm.
completely, and they are struggling now to go and find the new ones. So my question to you would
Right.
be there, for a situation like this, what is the pull strategy that you are building? And this is a long-term strategy. If you'll invest right now, you will see the results in 2022 and 2023, massive results, I can tell you this thing.
True. True.
So that's fair. Thank you. Thanks a lot to all of you for a very great participation. Love that, because I don't want to have this one-way communication. It's not like giving knowledge to people, but actually ensuring that we are we are just getting into what future lies for us, and we are not shaken away how pandemic has kind of really shook us all here. And would love to connect with any one of you later on after the presentation too. And please do share your feedback so that we can take it into our next presentations while we are delivering it to you and others too. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. All right. I'll just end the meeting now.